The illusion of time. Today I want to go with you through a kind of self-inquiry where we are going to explore this idea how time exists, how time comes to be. And in the end we may be able to see how it is just something that we ourselves create, and how we may arrive at a better understanding that is able to serve us to clearly result in better experiences. Because the way I see our general conceptualization of time is a fundamental flaw in our understanding of the world, and how it really has, if you track it back to its source and then you also see the resulting behavior, many pathologies follow from that not very correct understanding, not very helpful understanding of time. And so this video should be less of a mental, information-based video for you, but more of a guided self-inquiry. So I want you to go along with me, following my thoughts, and instead of arriving at a understanding at a conceptual level, I want you to get a visceral, direct, real feeling for how this idea of time comes to be in your life, how you have created it so far, and from that see how you may be able to change it in order to get real benefit from an improved understanding of what time is. So, to start, try to imagine how you perceive past, present, and future. You can do a very simple experiment with me here. You are sitting right now maybe in front of the computer or your smartphone and you watch this video, and as you sit down you can go through your head through the process of thinking of standing up. Think to yourself, I'm sitting right now, that's my experienced reality, that is undoubtedly so right now, and I have this thought in my mind right now that there might be a future that could exist where I experience standing up. Right now you think when you are sitting, okay, that's a possibility that I might just stand up. So you could set the goal, okay, in 10 seconds I'm going to stand up. And then you imagine, and then you stand up. You don't really have to do it right now, but just see how that creates in you the experience of time, the forward projection of what you are going to do. And the more you do this, you can come to a realization that everything you imagine is going to happen already exists as the possibility of it right now. And not only that it exists as the possibility right now, but that everything that could ever exist is an experience of now. No matter how often you imagine the action that you are going to do, no matter how clear of a picture you have of your future, you may think you have a very clear concept of how certain things are going to unfold in the future. But no matter how accurate that concept even may be, everything will always be an expression and a behavior in this very current moment, in this place. And really, to call it this very moment is also coming from our idea of time, of having separated that which is into past, present and future. Even the concept of now is misleading. It can point you to what you should look for. But ultimately, you also have to step out of the idea of now. Because as long as you think of a now, you're also connecting it to the concept of past and future. To really see through the illusion of time, you even have to transcend your concept of what you think is now. And then you just realize that this moment, this isness would be more correct to say, that this has never existed within time. And now that we have gone to the very deepest realization, to the very most abstract, if you are coming from the egoic understanding, from the personal perspective, I want to connect this to how you may benefit from shifting your perspective from being very strongly identified as this point in time that you think you are, to shifting to experiencing yourself as the container that contains all conceptual understanding, including time. Seeing that time is only one map that you create in order to get a certain outcome out of your experience. And from that we might see that maybe we can update this map in order to live a better life. That's really what it comes down to at the end of this whole understanding, this whole inquiry. Because first, where do we begin when we explore our understanding of time? You think of yourself to be a certain age, you have the memory of what you have gone through, and I want you to realize now that many things you did in the past and many things you do today, you are doing because of your concept of time. How many things are you doing because they are in your mind, part of a process that unfolds in time? We learn this from a very early age. We go to preschool, middle school, high school, then on to college. Throughout all of these years, we learn to become more future-oriented. In the beginning, the time frames are rather short. As a child, you learn to study for the next exam, to pass this year, to get on into the next class. And then at high school, maybe you already think about a couple of years ahead to get the good grades in order to go to a certain college, and then whatever you study there is all part of this maybe 40-year-long career path that you choose for yourself. And so that's just one example of work where I think this is very prevalent, this idea of time. This whole concept we build around past, present, and future, and let that whole understanding that we take for real guide our daily actions. And I'm not criticizing here really how we do that, or if that's the correct way. I'm just want you to see that this is, first of all, a conceptual understanding, and that we might benefit from a different understanding. Because there's always going to be a trade-off between the most enjoyment out of this very moment and the very real understanding that what we are doing now is going to influence the path that this experience is going to take. See here also that there is a slight difference in how I phrased this sentence. I didn't say how what you're doing now is going to influence your future. Because I want you to, in this process of you going along with me here, to shift your perspective out of that concept of time as something real, tangible, consisting of past, present, and future. And I want you to think more of it as an intelligent map that we create in order to make decisions right now and guide our behavior here in this only place there is, because we have observed certain tendencies of this experience to behave if we do certain things now repeatedly and so on. Because there is a benefit of doing certain things right now, of behaving, that is going to lead to a certain outcome over time. We cannot just, by using these very words, we cannot get out of the whole understanding we have created, out of the whole conceptual framework, because we have no other model. But I hope you see where I'm pointing at, that this is just an unfolding according to certain principles that we call time. So recognize right now, feel how strongly this understanding of time, this model is really present in you. How you really cannot experience this moment. I mean, you can, but you right now probably are conceptualizing what you experience right now in terms of what's going to happen in the future and what has happened. See how that's really influencing your experience. And once you can see that, you have also the possibility to become free of it, or replace it by some more accurate recognition of what is appearing. So that goes back to the thought experiment I tried you to imagine in the beginning, of you imagining a certain possibility for the future of standing up, and how that can show you that every possibility isn't unfolding right here, will ever be, everything that could ever be will be unfolding in consciousness right where it is, right as it is. And also recognize that it's just a very natural understanding, a very natural conclusion from how this behaves, that it appears to be unfolding in time, throughout time. It's a very helpful conclusion that we come to. But there are problems that come from the fact that we don't recognize that it's just an interpretation, conceptual model, a map that we put onto reality, and it is not real. But usually we take it for very real. And just hearing this maybe isn't going to give you the very shift in perspective that is necessary in order to fully grasp this. But if you practice certain techniques, self-inquiry, and you over and over go in your head through these questions of what is really the difference between my conception of time and what is real, then you can find out that this is really just something you create, something that is contained as an understanding and experience in this unfolding, in this isness. Okay, here now to the practical aspects of this possibility that you can shift into a different understanding of time. What is the purpose? What is the tangible benefit, you may ask? Why should I bother inquiring into the nature of time? And it is a great question that I have asked myself too. And you can realize, for example, some of the problems that arise out of this general or your current understanding of time. You may discover that this understanding of time is the basis for your current motivational framework. What motivates you throughout your life, or let's just say what is motivating you right now, has a deep aspect of that is based in your understanding of time. If you do a certain job, for example, and many people do, that they don't fully enjoy as the experience of doing the work. And while there is fundamentally nothing wrong with doing that, there is a problem that arises if we are too focused on the future that is just imaginary. So there needs to be an update to your understanding of what is real, that will always be this isness unfolding, never anything else, and your understanding of the future, for which you are doing so much. You are maybe paying off the loan for your house. Or you may do a job only because it pays you a lot of money, so you can save for retirement. I'm not saying in and of themselves those things are false or wrong or anything. I just want you to be able to step out of that framework so you can see those things, those activities, those actions, those decisions you have made for what they are and not for what you have confused them to be, because you see them from this framework of time. Because if you have confused your concepts to be more real as that which is, then you will pay for it. Not in a monetary sense, but in a very real sense, because at one time in your experience, this false belief will crash into reality. And then maybe you experience a fundamental midlife crisis, because for 20, 30, 40 years, however long, you have maybe worked in a job just for some dream, some illusory really concept that never comes true in the sense you have thought. Maybe you want to save a certain amount of money because you dream it to be this perfect state where all your worries are taken away from you, all your safety needs are met, because money just is this huge safety net. And then you realize that all it ever comes down to is how you create anything right now. Your feeling of safety, your feeling of self-worth, of purpose, of enjoyment, of happiness, of love. All of these, let's say, this blend of positive emotions that we all want to feel, that is something those are all things you have to cultivate. And they not just suddenly come because some external circumstance has reached a certain state. Some thing has happened, and then suddenly you are able to feel the emotion you want to feel. That is putting the cart before the horse, literally. And that comes also from our false understanding of the whole of existence in our materialistic worldview. That is not just some metaphysical abstract concept, no. How you understand the world, how you frame what you are experiencing right now has such a big impact on how you behave, on how you structure what you do moment to moment throughout all your life. If you would 100% for sure know that consciousness, beingness, existence, as it appears for you right now, is more fundamental than physical reality, or your concept of what physicalism is, the world existing as a separate entity out there, as something separate from you. that is something that will misguide your behavior in such a fundamental way that it is difficult to even comprehend. Instead, when you realize that consciousness, including your sense of time, is fundamental, then your whole approach changes. Because then you can focus on, okay, in my conscious experience, what is most valuable? All those concepts aside, all those ideas of a physical reality, a self, a society, a God, or whatever is like very present as a concept in your understanding of the world. All of that aside, consciousness as the basis for reality, as where all of this, or as which all of this is appearing, you can evaluate your experience so much more clearly. And then you will see that, interestingly, all of those things that you have been chasing were aimed at the wrong target, or aimed at a target that is only secondary to what you actually want. You want money? Maybe you think that, but primarily you want, you could say, at the next step, the experiences that money is needed for, but then that is also only an intermediary. You want the internal, very real, physical, tangible, raw emotional state that arises when you experience, when there is this certain thing unfolding that you hope for through money. But actually it's this cocktail, you could say, of positive emotions: joy, bliss, happiness, love, excitement, tranquility, equanimity, compassion. It can get, even on that level, ever more subtle and ever more nuanced, and also more sustainable, because there are certain aspects of a positive emotion that are unsustainable and some that are sustainable. But overall, in the whole context, that's what you want if you are honest to yourself. But then many of your concepts probably get in the way of that. If I tell you, for example, that you can have the most blissful experience, the most highest state you can imagine, where many of the things you do in your day-to-day life don't even compare to, that you could have such an experience just by sitting in a dark room for 10 days in a darkness retreat without any external input, without needing to do anything, just by doing certain techniques. You have many concepts in you. I want to say your ego will rebel, but it's really those conceptual understandings which feel triggered by such a statement. For example, you might say, no, the real thing that's important is human connection, my relationships. I don't want to spend 10 days in a darkness retreat in order to feel the highest bliss possible, or whatever positive emotion like attracts you. But see that it is just a certain conceptual value system that you have adopted, that you now take for more real as that which it is meant to support. This value system of, let's say, caring for my social field, if that's something that you really value, for my friends and family, that is a valuable proposition for you. That's a valuable idea to hold. Not because it is in itself something valuable, but because in your experience it has led to those experiences, those qualities of experience that you like, that you prefer. But you don't admit that it is just this what you want, this happiness, love, acceptance, self-worth, whatever feelings you might describe to those experiences, whatever feelings result from those actions. And so to conclude this exploration, I hope you can see how your understanding of time is just one of the mechanisms by which you try to achieve the experiences, the feelings really, the emotions that you prefer, and avoid the ones that you don't want to feel. And in that sense, you can question, and there is really just be open for your own benefit to question if your current understanding of time and how it influences how you act, how it influences how you shape your day-to-day behavior, how you let it influence what you do on a daily basis, if that really is the best framework in order to achieve your goals. Or maybe you have taken this concept so far that you are willing to suffer for 30 years. Maybe not all the time, but maybe in your day job. Like 8 hours a day, it's a real grind for you. You dislike it only because this concept has hijacked your behavior. Because you have somehow taken it for more real than what you actually want to achieve. Because this concept promises you something in the imagined future that you take for so real that you overlook what is actually unfolding. And I just say this not to criticize this as how we see the world. That's just how it has evolved. But I'm sharing this in order for you to direct your life path in the most positive way possible. So if it was possible that you open up to this possibility of really getting to the bottom of your conceptual understanding of time, then I hope this can just lead to better outcomes in how you structure your day, your weeks, your months, your whole life. And to a better balance of what you do now as a consideration of what's best now, and putting that in contrast to what you do now in order for a better now tomorrow. So really all this is about giving you the freedom to evaluate what you are doing in line with your goal of maximizing your pleasure, happiness throughout all moments that are going to unfold as part of your life that you call my whole life, whatever 80, 90 years that's ultimately going to be for each one of us. So realize that there is something in reality, some behavior of this unfolding that follows identifiable, very clear characteristics that we call time, and that it is useful to do that. But then see that you are, or just recognize that you can use this understanding to your own benefit if you become conscious of it, so that you are not living in an illusion or serve with your behavior an illusion that might never become the reality that you hope for. Because all there is in the end, and that's really, again, the emphasis of this video, is that see that everything, all the maps you have, all the conceptual understanding is part of just this infinite unfolding that we call conscious experience. There is no fundamental difference between what we call our emotions, our experience, and our concepts. They are all arising in consciousness. And we shouldn't take our maps for reality. But we all have those unconscious maps that we follow unconsciously day to day in our behavior. And we don't even recognize that we are just living according to those unconscious understanding of our experience. So become more free, inquire into the nature of time, let this all that you have heard now sink in. See really how time is something you create right now as a conscious being, and how this creation is only meant to serve your benefit. And that the only way that you can deeply mine this ability of us to conceptualize time and to really use it to our greatest benefit is to pull it up into our conscious awareness, into a deep conscious understanding of what it is, so that we can use it to the best of our abilities, for the best outcomes of that which we really want, and then make more informed, more intelligent decisions between what we are doing now and what we are doing now for the future. I hope this inquiry wasn't too confusing. Hope it was helpful. Hope you could follow me until now, here to this moment of deep insight. I hope this provoked something within you, something you can think about maybe over the next few hours, days, weeks, however deeply this touched you, however deeply this revealed something in you about our conceptualization of time. And really, maybe this, if you take it seriously, will yield wonderful results for you as it did for me. This is not something only I discovered, it's something you can discover for yourself, and many other people have discovered as well. And over time, maybe we will even be able as a society to update how we teach our children what time is, how we shape our whole society, our work, our educational system, if we understand that our concept of time is only meant as a tool and not as something that is that real as for what we take it to be. It's not something that exists in the way we think, and ultimately just lead to happier lives, better experiences, and more joyful, less suffering in the end. It's just one piece of the puzzle. There are many other conceptual models that we have to take from our unconscious to our consciousness, see them for what they are, and I'm going to talk about many others like this in the future. And yeah, with that, thank you for watching or listening, and see you soon. Bye.